Former NYPD Detective David Sarni. Good morning, and thanks so much for being with us.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
All right, so lots to discuss with you. First of all, I want to begin by asking you about the timeline on this Manhattan or this manhunt, because we're now outside of 24 hours. At this point, does it make it more difficult to find a suspect?
Let me just say first, this is a multifaceted investigation. We call it having legs. And when you take type of investigation, this murder investigation, you're looking at the crime scene, the perpetrator, and you're looking at the background to find out a motive. The resources the NYPD has are extensive and massive. The investigators are experienced. This is something that may take a little time. I mean, he had time to get away. It was a 2-minute interval between the 911 call and the shooting, apparently. And by the time the police got there, he was already leaving the scene. So then you have a massive movement toward the scene. Description at one point was inaccurate. They got a better description. By then, he was already in the park on that e-bike. Right now, there are things that apparently he's maybe looking to have a message, to send a message. He may want to be caught because there's a possibility the cell phone left at the scene might be his. There was items he purchased at the Starbucks.
Yep.
And those are things that we're looking at. And I'll tell you, the detectives are researching the phone and getting those items for DNA analysis. So the identification is upcoming. And, search warrants can be conducted, hopefully in the hostel he was at. So there's more information. Even though this crime looks like it can't be solved, there are clues and there's forensic evidence that will help lead to the apprehension.
Okay, I want to come back to the expertise of the gunman in just a second. But before that, let's talk about the words that were found written on shell casings at the site of the shooting. Deny, depose. What do you make of that? How much trouble would the shooter have to go to? And how... why would he do that? I mean, getting back to the point about leaving, clues behind and him possibly wanting to be found, what would be the message? What would be the motive for him to do that?
Well, when you're looking at this, he's sending a message. He is proficient in firearms. I don't know if he understood the fact that maybe that suppressor, that silencer might have caused a jamming of the firearm. But you can tell he is proficient in the fact that he fired a shot about almost a car length away with another possible person to the right of the victim as he's walking away from the perpetrator. That is one aspect of the case. You're looking at everything here. He's making a message. He's sending that message. And in that message, it looks like he wants to be the martyr in a sense, that he's angry. It might be an angry thing, writing that down. To scratch that in takes a little time. He was idealistic in the fact of how he did it. He left shell casings behind. He left rounds, unspent 9mm rounds on scene. So there's a message here to be made by this person. Is a lot of anger.
And a lot of anger. And let's go back just to round out this conversation then, because there's already been speculation. Everybody's talking about this story, fascinated with it on social media, that this person, perhaps, as you point out, may want to be found, that on one hand, he was experienced with firearms, but on the other hand, he made some pretty dumb moves. I mean, leaving DNA potentially on a Starbucks cup, leaving behind a phone. What's your take then on the professionalism of this assassinator, David?
Again, I never like to speculate because you let the totality of circumstances, the facts of the case ring itself out. But there are mistakes made. It's very difficult to have the perfect murder. And it's an outdoor exterior shooting. He was there prior to the victim leaving the one hotel and walking to the other. So within that time frame, he probably has thought about the shooting time and time again, and he's practiced that. But what he did before and what he did after is telling. And that's the thing, leaving the shell casings, going to Starbucks, knowing Starbucks has cameras. Every Starbucks has cameras. It's pretty much obvious. Purchasing items from there. These are clues, forensic evidence detectives will exploit, just as a surveillance camera. The backpack itself is pretty interesting in a sense. So I guarantee there was research done on the backpack. I guarantee you that, when he went to Central Park, there was a canvas of the park to locate this bag, because that bag might have contained clothing that he might have had, a change of clothing. So when he left the park, he didn't look the same. There are things that, this is a proficient shooter, but I don't think a professional killer in a sense.
David Sarni, he's a former NYPD detective. So glad that you could join us with your experience and expertise this morning. Air Canada facing backlash after announcing it will charge some customers for carry-on luggage.